Entrepreneurship is really hard. So I don't know if you've noticed, it's tough. And there are emotional highs and lows every day, let alone throughout the course of a week or a month or a year. And so celebrating wins, particularly within a community, is extremely powerful.
You're listening to the Seven Figure Leap podcast. We're here to leverage rich relationships and smart strategies to take your business to the next level. Here's your host, Dustin Riechmann.
If you want to grow your business, you need to focus on winning. I'm Dustin Riechmann, and this week I had a really fun experience. We kicked off the 22nd sold out cohort of our podcast Profits Accelerator, which is crazy even to say. So for 4 years now, this is what I get to do for my primary business is pull together a group of 12 entrepreneurs and lead them through this amazing 90-day process that we run to use podcast guesting to grow their business. And one of the hallmarks that's developed over 22 cohorts in doing this is our kickoff call. So people come to the kickoff call. Many don't really know what to expect. They haven't really met many people from the community, the people in their cohort. They probably spent some time with me, but we get a chance to introduce them to what we're all about. And so as part of that kickoff experience, I'm very intentional about setting expectations for how to win in our community, how to show up, how to maximize their ROI. Because ultimately, that's what we're here for, is to help them grow their business in a big way and to exceed their expectations. But of course, they play a big role in how to make that happen. And so we go through a few key tenets. I won't talk about all those today. But one thing that we emphasize is here at Seven Figure Leap and here within our accelerator program, we celebrate wins. We celebrate wins. We're all about winning. And we don't do that in sort of a pie in the sky, naive way. Like we do that with a lot of practicality. So as a follow up to that conversation, someone actually messaged me in our community and said, could you share more about like why you focus so much on wins? And so I thought, yeah, I'd love to do that. And in fact, I'd love to do that for our listening audience here on the Seven Figure Leap podcast. So today I'm going to talk about why this is so important. And I'm going to be very practical and talk about exactly how we incorporate it into our own business at Seven Figure Leap, how we incorporate it into our client experience. And I want to talk also about how I incorporate it on a personal level. So if you know much about my background, you'll know I'm an engineer. I have a master's degree in science, right, in civil engineering. I'm a person of Christian faith. I'm not woo at all, right? So this idea of kind of wishy-washy, put it out into the ether and the universe and all that stuff just doesn't really align with how I see the world. So despite not being a very woo person, I'm very convinced that mindset is absolutely important. And this whole idea of focusing on celebrating wins is critical. It's just absolutely critical. And no one can convince me otherwise. So why is that? Well, one of the reasons I've become convinced of it is it's something I shifted in my own life in a big way, I would say about 5 years ago. So I started to get educated on this. I started to pursue help in areas of what I felt like were limiting beliefs and mindset and identity. And I'm convinced that one of the most important things that I did and that we've done now as a small team here at Seven Figure Leap is incorporate this idea of a winning mindset and a celebration of wins. And that is a huge reason why we were able to grow this business to seven figures and beyond in less than 2 years and be able to maintain that at a high level with, I feel, a world-class experience for our clients for more than 3 years since then. So for 4 years now, we've been doing what I think is an amazing job, and I've been having a ton of fun. We've had a lot of success, right? There's a lot of factors that go into that, but I am convinced again that this idea of celebrating wins has created a measurable, gigantic impact in my bottom line and in how I feel about my business and my expectations of the future. So, this is just a little testimony into, I guess, why this feels so important to me to share. But I want to talk a little more practically now about why this should be important to you, right? So, if you're an entrepreneur, you're someone who wants to achieve some better things in your life, maybe you've been knocked down. I know I certainly have, and you struggle a bit with optimism and staying the course, and maybe what you feel is like discipline and things like that. And so I think this celebration of wins and this focus on this mindset is the key to so much of what you really want to accomplish in your business. So, why is that? So, I got three sort of main ideas here that I want to share on the why. One is just the stark scientific reality that we get more of what we focus on, right? You've maybe heard of the reticular activating system. It's basically the idea that when you're shopping for red Jeeps, and you've like, I don't know, maybe I've seen some red Jeeps. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw one. Well, as soon as you think about that, you start to see red Jeeps. And even as you're listening to this podcast, if you're driving, you're probably going to start seeing red Jeeps today as you're driving, because I just placed that seed in your mind, right? So, this idea that our brains are wired to focus more, to see more of what we focus on. And I think that is absolutely true when it comes to success, when it comes to winning, when it comes to optimism, when it comes to opportunity. When you're looking for it, you will see it. And so, one of the ways to train your brain to look for more wins is to celebrate the wins that you get, no matter how small they are and no matter what domain of life they come from, right? So that's a big part of this, is you get more of what you focus on. Number two, I just want to say, is like the gap in the gain mentality. And the gap in the gain is a book that I highly recommend. And I even more recommend the audio book of the gap in the gain. So Dan Sullivan, amazing person. You may have heard of 10x is easier than 2x, or Who Not How. The gap in the gain is part of that, what I would call trilogy of business books that had the co-author with him, Benjamin Hardy. But the gap in the gain concept is super simple. It doesn't really require a whole book, but it's worth a whole book, because Dan and Benjamin Hardy do an amazing job in giving examples and application. But the big idea here is you can't measure backwards. Like, you can't measure success you can't measure success forwards. You can only measure backwards, is what I was trying to say there. So the idea that when you have a gap mindset, you're always looking ahead to this like horizon line of a goal that just keeps moving. It's like, oh, I see it out there. I'm getting closer. I'm making progress, but then it moves again. And you just always feel like you're falling short. Like, there's always this gap between where you are and where you want to be. If you flip that around and you look backwards, you actually only see gains. It's right. It's like, well, maybe I'm not where I ultimately want to be, but when I look back right now versus yesterday or 90 days or 1 year ago, I can see measurably the gains I've made. So, how does this relate to celebrating wins? Well, when you celebrate wins, you're talking about progress made. You're not focused on the gap of where you're falling short from, like maybe an ultimate goal. You're celebrating in the moment that you made progress. And that's super, super important, right? So, a very practical way to stay in a gain mindset instead of falling into the trap of a gap mindset is to celebrate wins. And number three, I would say this is more the community aspect of why celebrating wins is so powerful. Entrepreneurship is really hard. So I don't know if you've noticed, it's tough. And there are emotional highs and lows every day, let alone throughout the course of a week or a month or a year. And so celebrating wins, particularly within a community, is extremely powerful. Because when you're having a bad day and someone else is celebrating a win, you can draw energy from that, and you can draw optimism from that, and it can help you appreciate that, you know what, I didn't get that result I was looking for today, but as I heard these other three people share, I know it's totally going to happen for me too. I know my time is right around the corner, and I just get joy from celebrating wins with people that I respect and love, right? So if I'm in a community, again, this in our case, a mastermind or an accelerator or a broader seven-figure leap community, this could be in your friends or your faith groups. But if you're in a community and you make it a focus of celebrating wins, this is again the third why here. is because the communal power of optimism is contagious. And when you are an entrepreneur, you're going to have bad days and you're going to have emotional downtimes. And this idea is like we can all be in a rising tide that floats all our boats. Even if one boat's got a leak in it, if the overall tide is rising because we have optimism and people are sharing wins, that's super empowering. And even on a day when you're having maybe not the best business day, you can celebrate a personal win and remind yourself and give yourself that boost of self confidence that, like, hey, you know what? Maybe this one thing didn't go my way, but man, God has certainly blessed me. And I can focus on the positive things that are in my life and vice versa. Maybe you're sick, but you got to win in business. Maybe the business and your health are not doing great today, but man, you love your spouse. And there's always something to celebrate, right? Because we net have very positive lives, even if we have struggle and suffering in them. So, why do we care about celebrating wins so much, and why should you care more specifically? One, you get more of what you focus on. Two, you can only measure progress in the rearview mirror. And so you want to maintain a gain mindset because that's how you win. And the best way to do that, one of the best ways that we have to do that is by celebrating wins. And three, entrepreneurship's hard. So being in a community where you're able to celebrate wins and draw energy and optimism and positivity and forward momentum from others is amazingly powerful. So that's why, hopefully, you can kind of see why this is so meaningful to me. And maybe this has started to sink in a little bit about why this is something you should incorporate into your life and business. So I'm going to give you some hows. These are not really from a book. These are things I've experienced and that I continue to experience on a daily basis in most cases. So this is what I do to maintain my own winning mindset and to celebrate wins for myself, my clients, and my team and my family. So how do you do this? Or how do we do this? That's what I'm going to talk about now. And then you can incorporate your version of this for yourself. So for us, our core program, again, is the Podcast Profits Accelerator. And the way that's structured is we meet for 12 weeks on a weekly call. And on that call, we're doing a lot of stuff, but we start every single call with wins of the week. And we go around to a person on that call and they verbalize a win of the week. If they can't be on camera for some reason, they'll put it in chat. But the whole idea there is, even if you're having the crappiest day of your life, there's something positive for you to focus on. And so many people share business wins and they vary like crazy. I got on my first podcast. I just got to my biggest client of my life. I just sold out my first group coaching program. I just finally got clear on my lead magnet. Again, there's no wrong answer here. It could be very small wins. It could be the biggest wins ever, right? And it can also be a personal win. So sometimes people are like, yeah, nothing's really coming to mind this week for my business, but I went fishing with my daughter last night, or I had an amazing anniversary dinner with my spouse, or something great happened in my church. All valid, right? But the idea is we start every one of those calls with the win of the week. And I think that can catch people off guard a little bit because they're like, wow, we have so much we're trying to do, and we're going to have workshop time, and Dustin's going to be teaching things here, and we only have 60 minutes. Like, are you really going to use part of that just to celebrate wins? It's like, heck yes, we are, because it's that important. It's absolutely critical. The other kind of side effect in that setting is not only all the things I talked about before about why to do this, but in a cohort setting where effectively you are in a tribe together and you're all making progress towards a common goal. This is a subtle way to sort of get insight into what's going on in someone's life, right? So we don't have to call it that, but based on what people share in their win of the week, you can usually get a pretty good feel for like what progress they made in the program, or maybe something important that's happening as a personal milestone. And so it's just sort of a double dip, and we get the win and the juice and the optimism from that, but we also get a more personal connection to each other. And that's really important in the way that we do business. So wins of the week on every Podcast Profits Accelerator call is number one way that we're incorporating this. Number two, our other main program is our mastermind. So we have the 7-Figure Elite Mastermind. We also have a weekly call. And so we do generally share wins on those calls. It depends on the format of the call. If we're squeezed for time, for hot seats and things like that, sometimes we'll just share wins in the chat, but we still share them. And then sometimes, especially if it's been a little while since we've had airtime, I'll make sure that everyone shares a win. We'll actually use that as a substantial portion of a call because it's so important to, again, get up to date, see what people are up to. This always opens up ideas for how to serve each other and some who, not how introductions. But these wins on mastermind calls are important, just as important, I would say, as the PPA, the accelerator calls. But based on the nature of the group, it's a longer standing group. It's not as, doesn't have to be quite as structured, I guess you could say. But one thing that's very structured in the mastermind is every quarter, we do a quarterly planning call for the next 90 days. I lead us through an exercise. Each member is creating their own personal roadmap for how they're going to win over the next 90 days in their business, all the way down to very specific prioritized projects. The very first step in every quarterly plan is a reflection on the previous 90 days. And guess what we're pulling out? Wins. So that is definitely part of the mastermind experience as well. On our team, something that we've been blessed to add this year is an all hands meeting. We just do it once a month, but we have a small team and I love to get to see them face to face it is on Zoom, but a face to face opportunity for not only me to interact with them, but them to interact with each other. And so that's got a little different structure. But when it comes to the sharing of each team member, so as they have the spotlight and have the microphone, the first thing we ask them to share is a win. So, and in that case, it's more of a win from their role over the previous month, right? Like, what is a win that you'd love to highlight for the group? Something you've seen in the community, something that you accomplished, something that another team member did for you, or something personal. That's always an option. But starting the conversation in our team meetings about personal wins and professional wins on a personal basis is another way that we incorporate this. Kind of the final way I'll talk about in the client side of this, which it's client, team, me, it's sort of all mixed together here, is our community. So you may or may not be aware, but we have like the best community on the internet. And I don't say that facetiously. I believe that. Kind of the way things work with us is people come in through the accelerator. So they come in through this 90-day cohort experience. From day one of that, though, they're in our larger community. Our community is all alumni of that same program. So it's a really unique community. There's only one way into it. It's a narrow gate, I guess you could say. Like, not just anyone gets into the community, right? Like, you have to come in through the accelerator, which means you're invested and you see the world in a certain way. And so I don't have to get into all that today, but just so you know, the community is really tight and really cohesive, and the people in there are really high value and they're very ambitious and they're just really kind-hearted people. So it doesn't take a lot for this to happen, but we create conditions so that at the community level, wins are one of the central things that tie us together. Right? It's a big part of our culture. And so what does that mean practically? Well, we run a community in Circle, and the most active channel or space in Circle is the Wins channel, right? And the Wins channel really operates as sort of the central water cooler and central connecting point of all parts of the community. So our community has active accelerator members. It's got a lot of alumni, like several hundred alumni. Our mastermind members are also in that same community. I'm in the community. Our team members are in the community. Our alumni coaches are in there. And so if you look around at how it's structured, you'll quickly realize that the wins channel is like the center of it all. In fact, it's even like the pinned post. It's the first thing you see when you log in. It's one of the first actions we have in our onboarding is to introduce yourself in that part of the space of the channel, and then come in and review the wins and leave some comments if you feel called to do that. So we've got this really busy wins channel. It's amazing. And in that, people are posting wins in their business, in their personal life, mostly business. So if you go in there in any given week, you're going to see all these people like, here's a podcast I was on, or hey, here's a new client, here's a client story, here's a success from one of my clients, here's something that happened with my team. Hey, here's an event that I went to. Some of my favorite posts are like, here's me with another seven-figure leap community member we met in person at an event, and they take a selfie and post it. People post about having babies and grandkids and getting married and all kinds of cool stuff. So it really is sort of the central energy source of the community, very much by design. As you probably have realized, that's a big deal to me, and it's a big deal to our culture. So that is another way we've structured our whole community around celebrating wins together. And if you want to, like I always say, kind of an insider secret, if you want to be visible in our community and get the most value out of it, and have people know who you are, post wins and comment on other people's wins, because that's what we do, right? And so that's going to make you more visible, and people are going to recognize that and want to celebrate alongside you, because that's the culture we've created. So on the how, and I'm gonna talk, the last few things I want to talk about here are on a personal basis. But when it comes to business, how are we ensuring that we're celebrating wins as a central part of our strategy? Wins of the week in every accelerator call, wins on mastermind calls, and especially in our quarterly planning sessions, wins from each team member when we have an all hands meeting among the Seven Figure Leap team, the wins channel as the central nexus for our community experience, and really emphasizing that as like the place to go to be visible and to do the thing we talk so much about practicing, which is an attitude of gratitude, focusing on what you want, right? Those things we talked about at the top of the show. A very easy asynchronous time and space to do that is in our community. So, what else am I doing? So, obviously, I'm doing all these things as part of the Seven Figure Leap experience because I believe in it, and it's a big part of how we make sure our clients get success. I also do this, though, outside of work itself. And there's even more that I'll probably get into today, but there's three particular things I wanted to talk about that I think will be very practical to you as an entrepreneur, and things that you can start incorporating literally today. Even if you have no clients, you have no community, you have no group calls, these are things you can do on a personal basis to level up your mindset and ensure you're going to have more success in your business. One of them is something I took from The Gap and the Gain. It's a little bit modified version, but it's basically the same spirit. And that is daily wins as a journal exercise. Literally every single night, this is like one of the only things I bring with me when I travel. But every night, whether I'm on the road or home, I do this. It takes literally like a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And if you're seeing the video, you'll see, I mean, literally every day, you're going to see these entries in this journal. It's real simple. It says wins today, and then it says wins tomorrow. And there's 1, 2, 3 underneath each of those. So every day before I go to bed, I write 3 wins from today. So these are real things that actually happened, right? And they're usually a mix of personal and professional. So at the time we're recording this, to kind of put myself on the spot, yesterday I wrote a Chris and Peter podcast. So I was a guest on 2 podcasts yesterday. I put our Seven Figure Leap Mastermind call, rich hot seats. Like we had a really good 3 hot seats on that call, and I felt really good about that at the end of the day. And I wrote LinkedIn catch up. So I had some time, and I actually felt like I finally got caught up on some LinkedIn messaging DMs in there. So those were wins that actually happened yesterday. And then the second part of this is I write wins tomorrow. And really what I'm doing there is writing down what I expect to be good about the next day in a very specific way, right? So I'll look at my calendar typically, and I'm like, what's going on tomorrow? What can I expect as a win? So today I wrote Dorothy and Sarah calls. I have 2 strategy calls today with people that had scheduled those. I put circle catch up because I'm a little behind in our community. I've got a lot of DMs in there I want to respond to today, which I'm going to do right after I record this. Make sure that win becomes real. And then Cardinals and Jordan Davis. So if you're watching the video, you'll see I have a Cardinals t-shirt on. I'm heading to the Cardinals game with my youngest daughter tonight. And after the game, they're having a country concert with Jordan Davis, which is someone we really enjoy. So I anticipated last night that those would be wins today. Right? So you can kind of see how this works. Some of those are professional, some of those are personal. It doesn't matter. The key is every single day I write down 3 good things about today. And I'll tell you what, some days suck, right? Like I have really bad days. I can still always find 3 good things, like 3 positive things to write down. Some days it's like, man, there's so many awesome things today. I don't know which to choose, but I always just do 3. So 3 wins today, 3 wins tomorrow, which again, I'm not like thinking I'm predicting or creating the next day, but what I can do is expect good things from the next day. And sometimes they're like, oh, this is scheduled, like pretty much this is going to happen. But I'll write like 2 accelerator sales tomorrow is like something that's certainly not guaranteed, but it's like I feel good about that. I feel like that's a win we could expect. And I'll believe it or not, it almost always happens. Like whatever I write down there generally happens. So that's a really practical thing you can do today. 3 wins at the end of the day and 3 wins that you expect for the next day. It's super easy and it's really powerful. So the next two things are a little more intermittent in like how often I'm doing them, but they're very important. So one is, you know what? I need a shot in the arm sometimes. There are times where I'm in my own head, I feel overwhelmed, I've got too many open loops. And a big thing that I like to do in those situations is just take a long walk. Like for me, getting in motion, I'll pray. I call them God walks. I'll pray on those walks. I won't look at my phone. And I'll try to have an open dialogue with God. So generally, that's what I'm doing. I do that pretty regularly. But in this whole winning mindset thing, if I really need a little extra boost, or I need to inject a little more help, I guess you could say, in that. There's a book I really enjoy. It's an old book. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking. And I have the audiobook. So what I'll do is find that audiobook on my phone and hit play at any random point. I'm not like trying to listen to it cover to cover. I have, but just play it anywhere. And I go on that same long walk. I don't even listen to it that actively. It's not like I'm really trying to like concentrate on it, and I can still pray and do other things. There's something about that soundtrack from that book. It really helps because it's called literally The Power of Positive Thinking. So it really helps to sort of retune my mindset when I need it. So that's sort of that might happen quarterly, maybe at least twice a year, though. I'd say I kind of get on a little kick for a week where I'm like, I'm just going to go listen to this book and go for a walk. And then the third thing is more of an annual practice. This one sounds a little more woo-woo, but if you listen to it, you'll realize it's really not. It's a book, technically. It's called The Strangest Secret. It's very short. I have the audio. You can look up The Strangest Secret podcast, and it's just, you'll find a track. It's Earl Nightingale who created it back in like the 50s or 60s. The 1900s, right? The 1950s or 60s. I always joke because I'm like, I'm born in the 1900s, and my kids think I'm super old. So Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret. It's about a 35-minute audio. It's really short. That one I do concentrate on. So once a year at least, I will listen to that. There have been a couple different periods when I've been in like really big transitions in the business, or really trying to, I don't know, commit to something new, have courage. I'll listen to this. I have listened to this for 30 days straight. Every day I've listened to it. Generally, though, it's just once. So I listen to it at least once a year, usually towards the end of the year. And this is usually when I'm in my goal planning phase of a year. And the whole premise of this little audio book or physical book is we become what we think about. Like that's what the whole book is. It's we become what we think about. And both The Power of Positive Thinking and The Strangest Secret are actually written from a biblical perspective. So this is, again, not woo-woo. This is in alignment with my own faith life as well. They're not religious texts, but they reference some things from the Bible and things like that. So, but the point is, we become what we think about. And this just makes a really strong case for that and gives some great examples of it. And I had another prop here for the camera. I have this card. I've had one on my desk for 4 years now. So I started doing this about 4 years ago when this business really became a thing. And what Earl Nightingale in that audio asks you to do is write down a definite goal, and a specific definite goal. And what he suggests is that you read it and look at it every day. And then on the back of that same goal card, you put a Bible verse that inspires you. And he's got a suggestion. So I do that. And I've done that for 4 years. It's crazy because every single year I put what I feel is kind of a stretchy goal. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's realistic, but this feels like what I want to think about. And every year we've hit that goal. And so I think that's really important. It's not quite the same as like the daily wins and some of the other things we've talked about in today's episode, but it's sort of that overarching idea that we become what we think about. We get more of what we focus on. When you have an optimistic and abundance oriented mindset, you are much more likely to achieve what you set out to. I believe also that I'm a steward and that God's on my side as long as I'm doing things in alignment with my calling and my values and my purpose. And so I've got that momentum behind me. But yeah, that's probably what I wanted to share today. It started with the simple question of why do you tell us on the very first podcast Profits Accelerator call that you should celebrate wins? And it's turned into a 30-minute breakdown of why I think that is vitally important if you want to grow your business, exactly how we've incorporated it into our business, into our team, and how I use it in my personal life, and hopefully giving you a very convincing overview about why scientifically, emotionally, spiritually, this is absolutely vital. And I hope that you feel like you're really practically empowered to incorporate this into your own life. That would be my gift to you, and it would be my biggest win. So, in the spirit of that, I think as podcasters, people do this and we don't mean it. I sincerely mean this. If you've listened to this particular episode today and you've gotten value from it, I really want to hear from you. I really want you to shoot me a message and say, loved the episode on wins, or here's something that I'm incorporating because of this, right? Or you can disagree as well. But this is one that I just really want to hear from you. I really want to hear about what this has brought up for you, what you have taken from this, if there's a practice that you're going to incorporate as a result. So you can find me on LinkedIn. That's a really easy way. So just Dustin Riechmann on LinkedIn and shoot me a DM there. If you want to email me, you can do that as well. It's just Dustin at sevenfigureleap.com. And let me know what you thought of today's episode, and if there's something that maybe stirred inside of you as a result, or if maybe there's practices here that you've already been using and you just want to affirm that they're a good thing. This will fill me with wins, and I would love to report back on a future episode about what we hear, and to be able to share this with our community as well, since they were such a big inspiration for today's topic. So that's all I got for you guys today. Appreciate you. Please let me know your thoughts on this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.